Welcome everyone, this is On Just Restart, and this time we're talking about Bowser's Fury. What if I told you that Super Mario Sunshine would someday get a sequel, and that day is actually right around the corner, and is coming in the form of Bowser's Fury? I know, that may sound a little crazy, a little far-fetched, but once we go over all the details, I think a lot of you may start to agree, or at least think it's a possibility. So that's what we're focusing on today, how Bowser's Fury may be a sequel to Mario Sunshine. Before we jump into things though, let me first talk about my social media. There's a Twitter page, a Discord community, a Patron page, and a Twitch channel. If you are interested in any of that, check it all out, it's linked in the description below. And of course, if you like what you're seeing here, subscribe. If you were to ask me, before the big blowout reveal for Bowser's Fury, if we could ever see a sequel to Sunshine again, I would say that that would be fairly unlikely. Sure, we finally got some sort of a modernized version of Super Mario Sunshine as a part of 3D All-Stars, but going beyond that, I think the best we would ever see in terms of Sunshine love would potentially be some cameos or references, very subtle ones, at some point in different Mario games in the future. But that would be it. I don't think we'd ever get some sort of story sequel for Mario Sunshine. But after analyzing all the footage and details for Bowser's Fury, I think I have to change my opinion on that, because I think that sequel might actually be Bowser's Fury. I think this game, or this extra mode we're getting as a part of 3D World next month, is somewhat of a sequel for Mario Sunshine. Now, as I noted in the intro, that may seem kind of like a far-fetched idea, but let's go over all the details here. Now, the most obvious Sunshine reference in Bowser's Fury is Bowser Jr.'s little brush. This brush is interesting because it looks to be of the same shape as the brush he had back in Mario Sunshine, which he got from Professor Gadd, or at least that's what it seemed to be alluding to. It even had the same symbol as all different technologies seen from Professor Gadd, like the Poltergeist and Flood. And supposedly, Professor Gadd gave Bowser Jr. this brush, which I find to be quite peculiar because Professor Gadd, at least on the surface, doesn't seem like a villain, but was helping the quote-unquote bad guys here with Bowser Jr. and Bowser. But if you look closely at the brush that Bowser Jr. has in Bowser's Fury, it does not have the same symbol as the one that was on Flood and Poltergeist, or all of the Gadd technologies. It doesn't have the Gadd symbol. But going beyond that symbol, everything else is basically the same. This seems to be just the next version of that. Perhaps after they lost the brush at the end of Mario Sunshine, they wanted to get another one. So maybe Bowser Jr. and Bowser built it on their own, or they consulted with Professor Gadd again. Which I think is an interesting sort of possibility here, because it could also explain what's going on with Bowser. So let me just read you this one quick little excerpt from the Nintendo of UK website talking about Bowser's Fury. Something bad has happened to Bowser. He's been tainted by mysterious black goop, turning him into a humongous monster bent on total destruction. So from this, it's pretty clear that something wrong has happened to Bowser. They literally say that, and that makes sense because Bowser Jr. is actually working with Mario in Bowser's Fury to save Bowser, or stop him from being so furious and enraged or whatever's going on with him. They're trying to save him to some extent here. So then, what happened? Well, if you notice, there's also this mention of a mysterious black goop. Now what's interesting about this is that this mysterious black goop not only has covered Bowser, but it also seems to be all around the entire environment of Lake Lapcat. It's this giant goop that's plaguing the terrain. And if you're fans of Sunshine, you might be noticing a connection here. Sunshine was one big island, an aquatic environment with a couple other smaller islands surrounding it. And they were dealing with a huge issue with this mysterious goop covering different parts of it and plaguing the Shine Sprites. So just keep that in mind for a moment, because I'm going to read another part of the description for Bowser's Fury from the Nintendo website. It's up to Mario and an unlikely companion to travel across a series of islands on Lake Lapcat, collect the mysterious cat shines by completing different platforming challenges, and harness their power to stop the terrifying Fury Bowser. So here we have mention of a series of islands on Lake Lapcat. It is an aquatic environment very similar to Sunshine. There's water everywhere, there's this goop that's sort of terrorizing the environment, and you are collecting shines of some sort. In Mario Sunshine, it was shine sprites. In Bowser's Fury, it is cat shines. Now you might say, oh, well, they just call all the stars shines in the Mario games. Well, that's not true. In Mario 64 and the Galaxy games, they are called stars. In Mario Odyssey, they are called moons. And then the other Mario games, well, they're just flags or goalposts. They're not actually collectible stars. It's not the same thing. In other words, there are some clear references here to Mario Sunshine, an aquatic environment that's covered with a mysterious goop, and you have to collect shines. And on top of that, there seems to be some sort of potential Professor Gadd influence here, or at the very least, you have Bowser Jr. with a new version of that special brush that he got from Professor Gadd so long ago back in Sunshine, and he's working with Mario here. So there's at least a lot of references and allusions to Sunshine with Bowser's Fury. But let me go back to the issue with Fury Bowser. I know I kind of just sort of skipped past that. What's going on with him? Something bad has happened to Bowser. What is that bad thing? What occurred here? Well, we don't know entirely, but consider this. I actually talked about this with GameBird Classic in the podcast a few days ago. You should check out his channel. But we talked about how at the very end of Bowser's Fury, it's going to make sense for there to be something else. Sure, throughout the gameplay of Bowser's Fury, you're going to be fighting Fury Bowser, slowly pushing him back, pushing back the goop, opening up more of the different islands you can explore here. But it would be weird if you were to have the same basic fight you've had all throughout the entire experience of Bowser's Fury at the very end. Something else needs to happen at the end to mark the conclusion. Something else that could potentially be the final boss for Bowser's Fury, which wouldn't be Fury Bowser potentially, because he isn't the source of the evil this time around. It's something else. Something bad happened to Bowser. Now, we don't know what that is exactly. Potentially, maybe Bowser Jr. wanted to get the brush again, and they had some sort of spiff or issue with Professor Gadd, and one of his experiments went awry, and that is what led to Fury Bowser being the way he is. He turned into this giant, evil, gooped up, kaiju sort of Bowser, which could kind of make sense. Giant Godzilla-like beasts have been known to have gone that way through mutations, through experiments and such, and Professor Gadd is definitely capable of having some sort of weird experiment go awry. That's typically what happens with a lot of his experiences in the different Mario and Luigi Mansion games. So that could be what's going on here, and maybe we find out at the very end. We discover that Professor Gadd actually has something to do with the story this time around, and it was an experiment that went awry with Fury Bowser. Or it could be something entirely different related to Lake Lapcat, and maybe you have to fight some sort of evil cat deity at the end. Or it could be some sort of combination of those elements. Either way though, it does seem like there is some sort of Professor Gadd influence here, because something bad happened to Bowser that was not of his choice. He did not choose to become like this. Bowser Jr. wants to save him, and he has the brush that he had for Mario Sunshine. Now, it's, I guess, a new version of it, but still, it is the same type of brush, a very similar type of brush that Professor Gadd created. So maybe there's some sort of connection there with an experiment going awry that led to Fury Bowser. But on top of that, you have an aquatic environment with a series of islands where you are exploring to acquire different shines so you can ultimately push back this mysterious goop that is plaguing the land. That is a very, very similar goal to Mario Sunshine. And here's one more little thing I haven't even mentioned yet. We are seeing the return of the painted M's. We saw them in Sunshine, we have seen them returned in Bowser's Fury as well. So it really wouldn't shock me here if we play Bowser's Fury and it turns out that there are even more connections to Mario Sunshine. And once everything's said and done, I think a lot of us might potentially agree with the idea that Bowser's Fury is somewhat of a sequel to Super Mario Sunshine, which is an exciting thing. And I think this is the one way it could actually happen. Sure, I never would have thought that Nintendo would make a dedicated Super Mario Sunshine sequel, but when we look at Bowser's Fury, it's an expansion to Super Mario 3D World that has a lot of Sunshine references that is on the heels of a modernized version of Sunshine coming out in 3D All-Stars. This might be the closest we ever come to getting a Super Mario Sunshine sequel And that's very exciting, and I would even argue that the gameplay is more similar to Sunshine than what most of 3D World is. Bowser's Fury is an open environment, an open exploration Mario game, somewhat similar to Sunshine. And that's one of the reasons why I am very excited for Bowser's Fury. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that there is some sort of deeper connection here between Mario Sunshine and Bowser's Fury? Or are all of these things that we're noticing just coincidences? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways everyone, this is On Just Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care.